Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm in a Mark 7 Golf R, but this isn't any ordinary Mark 7 Golf R. This is a Stage 3 530 bhp Golf R. So before I start talking about the car and the modifications it's had, I just want to say a massive thank you to OEM Plus for giving me the car for the week. I'll put a link in the description below to their website and you can sign up and register your interest. They've got a lot of cool cars coming to this channel and just in general, so yeah, check them out. Anyway, about this car. So this is actually a 14 plate Mark 7 Golf R. I think there's been a few facelifts since. The cars, obviously, they're still producing them even in 2020, so therefore they're about 6 years old, or this car itself is 6 years old. It's covered around 47,000 miles since new, and the Stage 3 modifications came along at about 43, so it's covered around 5,000 miles, or near enough 5,000 miles since it's been Stage 3 tuned. It was tuned by APR, I think it is. I'll double check and put a link in the description. But the car's had an extensive list of modifications. That includes a bigger turbo, so a TT 535 turbo. It's got a custom Brown's Performance exhaust system on it. It's also had uprated fuel pump, injectors. Anything really fuel or air related to the car has been upgraded. The intercooler as well. These are basically breathing mods, which is probably the most impressive part about this car, is the fact that the engine is stock. So things bolted to it like the turbo are obviously uprated, but an aftermarket. But the actual engine itself is still the same 4-cylinder 2-litre turbocharged engine that it was from factory. From standard, these cars produce around 300 horsepower, and with the all-wheel drive system, they're by no means a slouch of a car in standard trim. But with this car, of course, we're talking another 230 horsepower on top of that standard 300, which just completely transforms the car. As you can see underneath the bonnet, it looks fairly OEM, other than the massive turbo at the back of the engine. It kind of looks pretty standard, but that's where the similarities with a normal Golf R kind of stop. As you can see from the exterior styling, the car's been lowered slightly to give it more of a meaner stance. It's got the black overlay on the badges, as well as obviously the carbon fibre rear cargo net and brakes. And then it's also got the smoked out front and rear lights, which I'm not always a fan of on a car. But one thing I do like about this car is that the way it's styled kind of suits the car itself. I'm not a massive fan of, doing that kind of stuff to a car that is maybe just standard otherwise, but the fact that this car has as much power as it does and has had as much money and engineering work put into it, it kind of warrants, or it can get away with it, because it kind of backs itself up in its own right. This one's in quite a nice blue colour. If I was going to own one of these cars myself, this is the colour combo, and with the anthracite wheels, definitely sets the car off quite nicely. Some Golf Rs I feel look a bit too standard. I know that's the point, is that they're a hatchback with a big engine, but this one with the wheels and the colour sets it off really nicely. They could be black, to be fair, they would look quite nice too, but it's just having these spokier larger wheels that really sets it apart from a normal R, or a normal Golf in fact. So inside it's very much a Golf. It's really nice to be in. The seats are the optional extra leather ones in this, and they're really supportive actually in the corners when you actually want to push on. They support you quite well with the side bolsters, and generally speaking it's a nice place to be. It ticks all the boxes. You know, it's comfortable, refined, but because of the modifications this car's had, it's also can be an absolute animal as well. It feels really raw and visceral when you put your foot down. The owner of this car's got a Dragy timer, and consistently on launch gets 3.2 seconds 0 to 60, which is in the realm of supercar quick. There's no doubt about it. But the real question here is whether or not this is too much power for the road. Now I know there's a lot of bigger power Golf Rs even on YouTube, and people running 800 horsepower Evos, 1000 horsepower cars, you name it, people have done it these days. But ultimately, this is the fastest car I've ever been in, and probably will be for a while, and in my opinion, it's probably too much. Whereas in my previous videos, you've probably seen that I've driven the Megane R26, which is a 230 horsepower, so less than half the power this has. But that doesn't make it any less fun to drive. So where I said that the Megane almost makes straight line speed irrelevant because you can carry so much power through the corners, the R is actually the complete opposite. So it doesn't matter how much speed you carry into the corners in the Golf, because when you come out of the corners, you're already doing blistering speeds anyway. The all-wheel drive system keeps it planted, there's no slip whatsoever, it doesn't drift, doesn't do anything stupid, you just point your foot down and go, which means it's literally the polar opposite. So they're completely different driving styles, and you probably couldn't find the limit of this car safely on the road, because you get the impression that you'd have to be doing serious speeds in a corner in order to get this car to really start being a handful, whereas in a lighter, smaller car like a Clio 182 or 172 or the Megane R26, you can have probably just as much fun, if not more, chucking it around a bend. When we're talking about some of the other really cool things about this car, it's had a custom Browns Performance exhaust, as you'll see out the back. Now, whereas the standard Golf R has a quad exhaust system on it, this has actually got a twin pipe out the back, which in a way pays homage to the Golf R32 with the distinct and quite iconic VR6 engine. It's actually a really nice touch. The noise is just absolutely brilliant. I mean, but you have to be careful with the way you drive this car, because you can quickly find yourself doing way over what you should be doing. I mean, you could easily run out of talent, because although the car stays planted, it never slips, it never gives out at all, it just seems to grip and go. It's the speed that this thing carries that is just almost mind-boggling. DSG box as well is absolutely fantastic. The way you can change down and kind of use that to your advantage is brilliant. You almost don't have to brake, but which is a real shame, because this car doesn't have the standard brakes on it. It has 390mm discs and 6-pot AP racing brakes on the front, which will literally bring you to a halt pretty much instantly. I've not had to use them too much because they're just so sensitive and just so well refined that they just work brilliantly. And the best bit is they don't squeak when you're in low speed traffic. So that's the other thing about this car, is that oh dear, it's just insane. Like, this car is just so quick, and you can't really find the limit of it or enjoy it to its full potential on the road. It's just too quick. I think you'd have as much fun in a 300 horsepower Golf R, in a completely standard Golf, and that way it'd probably be better on fuel, it'd be more economical, but at the same time it wouldn't push you back in your seat like this does. It wouldn't make you grin every time you put your foot down as much as this does, and for that reason I think this car's just insane. I think the owner of this car has used a draggy a couple of times to kind of get a real sense of how quick this car is to 60, and it will consistently do 3.2s. This car will make anything else feel slow, especially because, as you've probably seen, the seats are stripped out of the rear. So not only is this a 530 horsepower Golf R, it's stripped at the rear, making it even lighter, because the rear seats do actually weigh quite a bit. It's fun and it's hilarious to accelerate hard, but at the same time you don't need to have this much power to enjoy yourself. You can enjoy yourself in a much less powerful car and not feel like you're going to lose your license, because that's how you feel when you drive this. It's that quick that as soon as you start actually putting your foot down, you think, oh dear, and you look down at the speed limit and just, yeah, it's a speedometer, and think, wow, I didn't know I was going that quick, because this car is just so capable that that can happen. The fact that I've been able to drive this in every condition, I feel like I'm able to give quite a well-rounded opinion of what it's like to drive a Stage 3 Golf R, even as a daily. The fuel is, yeah, it's it's very uneconomical. I think this car, in reality, when you drive it hard, achieves about 15 mpg. So you definitely can't really run it as a daily unless you've got incredibly deep pockets. Anyway, I hope I've done the car justice. Again, a massive thank you to OEM Plus for lending me this car. I'll put a link in the description below to their website, which is coming soon. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video. Cheers for watching.